Welcome to the Matt and Dale podcast, episode 7.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Dale and I were discussing the topic today, which is finances and the challenges that we can face when it comes to money. And one of the questions I did raise with Dale that we could talk about maybe to begin with, if Dale, if you did have an abundance of money, all right, you mastered money. What would you be doing? Like, would you still be in this role, do you think?
Look, I think I would be. Yeah, I think I would be because I'd want to. I mean, it's hard to say, but I think this might sound a bit like I've got it all together, which I really don't around this subject. In the, interests of um, transparency or etc. I want to be doing something purposeful with my life. And I did say to myself, kind of I do some yearly goals and stuff like that. And I said, as I, you know, or mantras, if you like, whatever you call them, prayers. And it's more around okay, show me a bigger world, show me bigger resources, y- and allow me to do what I'm here to do. Right. And I think with that, I know my intention, therefore, would be to do something that I'm seriously purposeful about without needing to worry about money or to concern myself with money. So I think the answer to your question, I don't know if I'd be doing exactly this, but it'd be pretty close.
In mind.
Something in line with it. Yeah, I don't think it'd
Yeah.
be terribly much of a deviation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that's to say, and then I think the flip side of it, well, have I mastered money? I would say the answer is no. And I don't quite know what that looks like, mastery of money, but I've definitely got different things to learn about it, different feelings and beliefs, which I don't think always serve me well in my relationship with money, which I'm happy to divulge. Um, so to me, it's almost getting to a point where those beliefs the beliefs are aligned to something around I don't fear money, I welcome it, I step into it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think wealth in the right hands is a really, really good thing. And I think I'm worth it to receive it, so to speak. Um, but I still have little isms in the background, although I think I do believe that. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah. And does it make life a bit more fun? Like, I know with me personally, that feeling of reward when it has been tough for, say, a couple of years, and then you finally might land a really great job or some money comes to us. I feel like that is so rewarding. And my question is like, you know, would it be as special if we did have an abundance of money and we never had to worry about it? Is there a bit of enjoyment of almost grinding a little bit and then seeing the reward after?
yeah, definitely. I think with reflection, I'm not often in that space where I go, oh, look at me, look at me. It's more,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm kind of sometimes grinding and grinding a little bit. I feel like that. And then I'll look back and go, oh, hey, I'm doing all right. I'm doing
yeah.
pretty okay in this space and I'm fortunate. Um, but sometimes my mindset does go into a little bit of not there yet, not there yet. And I don't know. I think part of that's healthy, but I think if I move into sort of, a little bit of obsession around it, that's not a great thing for me. Um, yeah, it's still it's a funny subject because I reckon it's a good one for many, many people.
Well, it's survival, right? Like without
Yeah.
money, we wouldn't be here. Like we wouldn't be able to survive pretty well. Is what the brain how the brain kind of thinks.
Yeah. And look, I think there's, society, and I don't want to make this about, finances, like, hmm, how would I say? I think I think society, the way that our monetary system is, there's a responsibility for it, which I think is directly linked to some of our, let's say, self-depreciating thoughts and belief systems around money. Um, there is a little bit, and I don't know to know, like some of it is there's not enough resources. You're going to have to take out a loan to get what you want. You're going to have to take some risks to get what you need. Do you know what I mean? It isn't that simple. It's not just as simple as looking at, hey, these are, I've got my internal world sorted out, because I think it's very challenging in the current monetary system.
How much emotion comes up with it,
Oh,
especially
huge.
when you're talking about like risk taking. Like it's yeah, I feel like it does come with a lot of risk, and a lot of risk means that could potentially be unsafe. And for a lot of
Well,
people, that could, yeah, really kind of stop them from taking that next step.
if you look at the system, it's historically boom and busts, and who likes a bust? Like really, I mean, it can ruin people, and I think I think it does create greed is, one of the things that can be created by such a system, and obsession, around it too. Um, and I'm not saying that that's all caused by the current monetary system, but I think it's got a part to play in it. I really do. Um, I don't know about you, but like going down to the grocery store right now, it doesn't get much cheaper, does it? It's just keeping going up and up, and
And things are
it
getting
it is
smaller.
challenging. It,
The prices are going up and the things are getting like smaller. So it's yeah, it's definitely, and especially for families, that
yeah,
probably
yeah.
rely on the quantity. Uh, it must be a real struggle at the moment.
Oh, for sure. My sympathy goes out to, particularly families, who've got kids, just and the, the strain that can have on the family, and we see it with clients, right, who come in and um, marriages can be, upset, or partnerships and friendships, and um, people getting let go from work, and obviously I've got a history in that with some of the previous work I've done in the recruitment industry and outplacement industry. And it's just kind of really sad that, I kind of think the world with the earth, how much it offers, and how, I don't know, it can be real, the opposite of what we've been kind of given by planet Earth, right? Abundance, trees growing fruits, and then we get our monetary system and it's like there's not enough, and
Yeah.
we're always scrambling, and it's
Is
almost
money,
like a parallel kind of setup. It's kind of
yeah.
almost strange, and it's
Well, because money itself hasn't actually been around for that long, has it? Because
oh,
it
I think I
used to
sorry, go
just
on.
be trading. Well, from my understanding, it used to just be trading. Like if someone had like a really nice apple tree, uh, they would maybe trade some apples for maybe someone was really good at who knows, maintaining horses or something like that. So they would trade like apples for that maintenance, and so it was all just like a trade system. So as far as my understanding is, money hasn't been around for in the whole scheme of things for very long, really. So it's gone from
Yeah.
trading to yeah, to having something more tangible like money.
Do you mean like bartering, like you give me the, I don't know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
blanket and I'll give you the
exactly.
sheep?
yeah, yeah. But
right?
it wasn't working out anymore because like, if the apple tree wasn't doing well, like you'd
There
give
weren't
that
any
person
apples.
some rotten apples and they would have a really good service. So they had to find something that was going to actually work for everyone.
Oh,
So I
you
think
mean, yeah,
that's
in terms of like currency. Yeah, okay, I
the
get it.
currency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's always been, yeah, I think you're right. There was, barter. I mean, as far as my, history on the subject is concerned, it's not vast, but you know, the but it is very interesting if you do some research on it. And I think you're right. It started with trading. I think there certainly was primitive monies that were used going back. And then, I think you kind of move into, the gold and silver. I think that maybe bronze, gold, silver was used in the Roman Empire, right? Um, and then into, however long that was, BC or whatever, but right up to the current day where we use, paper money. Um, so yeah, I guess what's that bit over 2,000 years, 2,500 years, if I'm looking at that. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's an interesting subject. It's caused a lot of wars, a lot of trouble.
As and if we going back to what you were saying before, we've been kind of blessed with like trees and all this nature and everything, and
Yeah.
then money's like this like real physical kind of material that does it fit in? Like it seems when I think about money, it seems very unnatural. Like, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's an odd one. I think, the reason for it is that like when you said, like with trading apples and what have you, and that, the apple tree then doesn't produce or the apples get rotten or whatever. And I think that's the point. So you needed something where like, let's say a silver coin way back when, where you could get a multitude of different things. You wouldn't just, let's say you needed the blanket plus this, plus this, plus this, and you didn't have anything, in terms of yourself to give, then but you'd have the silver
yeah,
coins. So you could, spend on multiple different types of things
yeah,
that you needed.
good point.
I have done a little bit of research on it, and I think what happened with the gold and silver was that, you know, I think with gold, it was then hard transport if I was to try and do business in the UK and I had my gold bar and
Yeah,
to send it over there. So I think
yeah,
their notes were then backed with gold, right? And that's how
yeah,
that part of the process came out, and then
mm,
so on and so on.
yeah, yeah. And what is it about money that brings so much like stress, would you say?
Um,
It's a very,
I'll be honest, I think it probably just buys less than it used to buy. That's one
yeah, yeah,
stress, whatever that looks like. And um, I think there is an element of greed, and I have and you don't, and a bit of that dog eat dog, um, around the money, let's say. And I think that does create issues, social issues. Um, and it creates obviously clearly internal issues for people too. They don't have enough. I really don't have enough. I can't buy stuff that I need to for my family, or I don't have enough to get a house, and then you have this division, I'm not all about, I actually do believe in a free market, but I don't like the fact that certain people perhaps have it over certain people in terms of that equality with money either, um,
that's right.
because
And
money does become quite complex too if you're looking at sort of financial markets and stuff, and
yeah,
not everyone has the aptitude for that nor the skills to learn about that. And I think some people are placed in an advantage over others in that system. So, um, yeah, yep.
Yeah. And do you feel like, in my experience, like when I've been going really well with money, it makes me feel like I'm in control as
Mm,
well. And the times where I've been really struggling, especially if I've got other stuff going on in my life, I feel really unstable. But at least when I had good money coming in, I could have things that were happening outside of that. But as long as I knew that I was financially stable, it's like that would be like an anchor for me almost.
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
so at the times where I had, sort of mental health struggles and I was lacking money, it was
yep.
like, oh
That
my,
would just
my
exacerbate
my,
it.
my world is caving in. But yeah, if I was going through mental health struggles, but I had good money coming in, I was like, oh, it's not that bad actually. So for me personally, like money's really, and even though I might say money doesn't bring happiness, I don't think that's entirely true. Um, yeah, like I feel
Mm.
like we need a certain amount of money to feel stable and secure.
Yeah, I think it's one of the needs of society, right? Because without it, you can't pay your bill. You can't pay your electricity, or you can't go to the grocery store and get groceries. Although, there are some interesting community things coming up around that now, aren't there?
Mm,
You had on one on the huddle the other day.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's one of the, the essential needs, that we do need it, and we need to have, I think, a certain external amount of it. You mean the actual product, money per se, but also the right attitude towards it too. And I think that's trying to find, the mastery of money, I think is in the attitude around it, first and foremost. But I do think there's got to be a certain amount of it too, you know, to do what you need to do in terms of living.
it's really hard. Like we're also living in a society that's very instant gratitude. Like we're
Yeah,
sort of
that's a really good point.
looking for an instant reward. So that's not helping this situation either. So it's very
Yep.
hard. You've got things like Temu and you've got notifications popping up, and we're after possibly like a very quick dopamine hit that brings a lot of joy for a very short amount of time. But that feeling can be quite addictive, and I'm just seeing increasing amounts of spending when people just don't have the money, because it's almost like it's this like it's almost like a pokey machine. It comes up on the phone and get drawn to it, and all of a sudden it's been bought, and people aren't really in a financial position to do that. So and
Mm,
companies are very smart. That's just smart marketing. That
mm.
they know that certain colors, certain sounds will draw people more into spending.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And I think that, again, that's twofold. I do think that's the way the current financial system works lends itself to, I think it's called like high time preference for money, meaning I need it, I need it, I need to get it, I need to spend it. I've got the credit card, I can do that. I'm enabled to do that. Or, I go and gamble, or look at a risky something that's going to go from zero to, $1,000 in the next 10 days. And it's geared to set people up like that because I think the system is kind of rigged a little bit in that way. Um, and I think that plays into our human nature, our egoic nature as well, right? Um, and this is interesting because we're talking about, I think, again, I always call it mastery from the inside, which I think is the most critical um, side of it, to understand what's going on externally, but also managing ourselves internally. I'm blessed. I kind of think like from when I was pretty young, and people say this maybe is not so good, but I was very good at just saying, you know what, I'm going to save and put some money in the bank. And I've been pretty good throughout most of my life in terms of if I can't afford it, I'm not buying it. Because the worst thing that I don't, well, the worst thing I don't like is to feel like I've got, debt burdens everywhere. Because I don't operate well with debt burdens. So I try to before I buy it, I just want to know I can afford it. It's within budget. Do I spend a little bit more in occasions? Yes. I'm not perfect at it, but so I guess that's to a degree, for me, working towards mastery, but I wouldn't call myself a master around money still. It's a
Yeah.
constant wrestle.
Did you teach that yourself, or was it something you kind of learned along the way?
Just through experience, but I think
Yeah,
innately, like, I mean, when I was younger, I'd put money in the bank and,
yeah,
my brother would call me a bit of a miser or something like that.
yeah. Did you have one of those
And I
like
was good. Yeah, I think I
one
did.
of
And,
those one of those piggies?
yeah, but I think there was something simplistic around it, and I kind of, again, the world didn't see that all that well for whatever, that it's more about, get the loan and, get $1 million house or probably $3 million house these days, get another loan, do this because, you need to loan to get ahead. And I tried it. I tried that way for a while and I think it worked for me in the current system a bit. I didn't have a huge tolerance for debt. But I
Yeah,
think that, going back to that point, I think there's quite something quite simplistic, and I'd call it like the longer time preference for money, where you spend what you can afford,
yeah.
and if I can't, and do I really need that right now, that thing? And I know I've moved house a few times, and I hate moving stuff and having heaps of stuff which I don't use. It's just
Oh,
annoying.
it's the
Oh,
worst.
I hate a big kind of house with heaps of stuff in it. Um, Luckily my wife makes it very homely because it was probably up to me to look like a hotel, but truth be told. Um, but I guess point being is I think I've got a pretty low time preference for money, so I'm happy to, put a penny away and save for a rainy day. And I think I've had
Yeah,
that in my arsenal for some time. So
yeah,
um, I'm sort of grateful for that because I think there is something really good about, you know, that that kind of way of being.
yeah. Well, it's I feel like it's improving on discipline, and sitting with the discomfort of wanting to buy something, allowing it to show up, but then making
Mm.
a choice. And I feel like that's very empowering.
Yeah, yeah. I think um I'd probably like in an ideal world to have a little bit more freedom around probably thinking about that too much. Or have I got enough? I need to save that, or just being a little freer with the flow of it. And my wife's really great with that. We're kind of really good balance. She's got that side, and I've got more that, no, let's just put it away. Do we really need it? No,
Yeah,
let's just leave it. So kind of some balance in between,
yeah,
but the relationship helps around it strangely. I mean, not strangely, it's compatible. We're quite compatible financially.
yeah. Balance each other well.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
it's a bit of a broad subject, wasn't it?
Well,
Really, probably not that counseling,
we could
simply
almost do like
counseling
a
inclined.
six-part series on this, I feel.
For sure. But that's just my experience of everything and my attitude towards it. Um, and yeah, I'm definitely not there yet, but I think I've got some form of, I've certainly got skills around it, I should say, not mastery, I don't think at this point. What about you, Matt? Would you say you're a master of money?
A month. So like for me, money is very, very low on the priority list.
Yeah.
But once again, it really depends. Like, I'm feeling content. I'm happy as long as I've got enough, to put food on the table and pay my petrol, and like I'm, yeah, more than happy. But I suppose in my 20s, I was always like chasing the money because I
Mm,
looked at my father being really successful.
yeah,
And I thought, to be a man, I need to be successful. I need to be earning big bucks.
yeah, yeah.
And I kept chasing and chasing. And I got the big bucks. And then I realized, oh, is that it? Like, so then I'm like, oh, well, okay. But I'm happy that I got to that position where I did have that abundance. And, I've definitely lost that now, but I'm so much happier. Like when I had all the money in the world, it's almost like the more money I had, the more I was spending it on stuff that was like
Mm,
really not helping me at all. I won't go into
yeah.
detail, but
No,
it was
I know. I
not,
get it. I get it. You've hit a
yeah,
really good point there, I think, and
yeah,
um, it certainly um, isn't on my true priority list. Does it kind of come in a little bit more than it probably needs to? Do I think about it more? Yes. But I mean, I'm similar as you. I've had money before and, looked at the share portfolio or whatever and just gone, wow, this is doing really well. Meanwhile, I've just broken up with my partner. I'm in, distraught with sadness. And I look at it and go, this just really is not compatible. It's not even a meaningful comparison to what's important, right? And that really told me in that moment. And I think that's happened numerous occasions because without, love, connection, relationships, family, it isn't anything.
so
It
true.
really isn't. It really isn't, and it's a good reminder.
Yeah, and I think also like I don't know about you, but I feel very lucky that I've had the opportunity to see what that's like, so that I'm not on
Yeah.
this like pursuit of happiness through money,
Yep.
So I'm forever grateful that I got to experience that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, same, same. Um, it's the same result, really, isn't it?
Mm.
I've had it too, and I've been in despair. I've had lots of money, and and haven't been in a good place. Um, yeah, big topic, mate. Big topic.
Yeah, and definitely, one maybe we can touch on again in another podcast because yeah, there are so many elements that we could go down here and didn't even touch on AI and the stress that that's bringing to people as well in terms of occupations and money and so that might
Yeah,
even be I've just noticed with certain people that that's been a stressor as well.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, there's a you know, I think sort of financially AI. There's changes are happening. And
Yeah,
I don't know how. I feel like the changes are happening quickly. How much impact that will have, will it be more sort of staggered and, you know, clear and next steps, or will it just hit us like that? I don't know, and that,
the
I
unknown,
get,
isn't it? The unknown, which is
yeah,
one of the most
because,
scariest things to human beings.
well, if one happens, the other's happening too.
Yeah,
I don't think they're independent of each other.
yeah,
So yeah, there's definitely changes afoot, and I think
yeah.
uh, um, the counsel I would, well, for myself and how I would, um, if I'm in this situation, what I'm working on is, well, how can I be more resilient around change? Center of control, what can I control and what can't I control? Um, Although these external changes may happen rapidly or not, I don't know. Um, what's really important? What's really truly important? Focusing on that first, you know, love, family, relationships, friends, you know, talk to them, focus on those things first, and
Getting back
then,
to values.
yeah, values based, and
Mm.
if you can do that, you'll probably remove a lot of the noise that's around, and look at, first steps first. Okay, if there is a change, what do I need to do? And, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that sounds pretty simplistic, and I know it, emotionally that's going to be a lot more difficult for all of us, but, I think it's a good way to focus on, yeah, like what we can control, what we can't, and, and what's important, what's the most important priorities.
Yeah, I really like that, Dale. It sounds very, it's very practical as well.
Good.
Because
I hope it doesn't sound
sometimes,
too cryptic.
no,
Cryptic.
no. But sometimes, yeah, it can be really hard to make decisions
Mm,
when it comes to money. So I think coming back to values, for me personally, my own journey, it's been like a compass for me
yep.
amidst the storm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Focus on that, not the storm, first. And
Yeah.
then, you can weather the storm, right? If there is a storm. Or even, more than that, maybe even thrive in the storm.
Well,
There you go. That wasn't
that,
a,
that's a good
a
one to leave
subtle
with.
promotion.
No, but I think it's a good note to leave on there, Dale. I
Yeah,
think
let's
you said
maybe
that well.
maybe rather than fearing it, let's try and all thrive in it, you know. Maybe it's not going to be all that bad. Maybe it's going to be some good that comes out of it, and let's try and thrive in it rather than fearing it.
All right, good.
Okay.
All right, Dale. Good to see you again, and yeah, we'll talk again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Everyone take care. And if you do need, obviously, our assistance, a little plug, but, for anyone out there who's resonated with this, great, happy for that. And obviously, if anyone or you know of anyone that needs help or would just like to, as I said, maybe even navigate life a little bit easily, right? We certainly do provide counseling and coaching at Thrive. So yeah, we'd be happy to take your call or your contact through email or through our website.
Very good. Thanks, Dale.
All right,
Thanks,
take care.
everyone.
See everyone.
If you or someone that you know needs immediate support, please see on the screen a list of hotlines you can call. And to book in with a clinician at Thrive, you can phone the reception or book online. And remember, you're never alone.